Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the video. This is fishing vlog number 68, and I'd like to start off today's video by sending out a special thank you, and that thank you is to Fred. Fred not only watches pretty much every video I put out and leaves comments and suggestions, but he also very generously supports the channel, and I can't really say enough, Fred. Thank you very much for all that. It is most appreciated. So on today's video, and as you can tell, I am progressing now with a little bit of culturing. I want to culture a little bit more in the way of smaller things. In this particular case, I want to try getting a few types of paramecia going. And I remember from the old days when I used to do this, hay was very good for this. And I'm going to show you a couple of slides, and it is actually doing really, really well. I still have to balance it out a little bit. I think I'm still using too much hay. But I'll work all those details out and get it down to something more reasonable. But as you can see in these slides here, this is just a tiny, tiny, small fraction of a drop. I can't even tell you how little it is because it is squashed between, the cover slip and the slide itself. So this is just a small representation of a very small section of one of those test tubes, and you can see it is just teeming with life. I mean, there's tons of paramecia in here, and I'm really quite happy with the density, the population density here. Now I just need to work out a few of the other details because I do want to grow other things besides just paramecia. I do want to get some cyclopses going. I still have a couple of, if you remember those bottles, I have some cyclopses growing reasonably well in there, and I just want to get it to this kind of density where there's a lot more of it, and that is still the trick yet. I haven't managed that with the cyclopses, and I also would like to get a nice stable population of Daphnia as well. And last year I got a really good one going, and then it crashed, and I haven't tried yet again this year because I was trying to get a nice media going so that I have a better chance of that happening. And now that I have a really good population of small organisms like these paramecia, I think that has greatly increased the odds of the Daphnia cultures doing well. So that is a good step forward. I'm really quite happy with this. I mean, there's way more food here than I could possibly use for raising fry, so I really couldn't ask for more as far as this goes. I just want to get a little bit more balance going for that. Now, one of the suggestions that Fred had made on a prior video was he uses cornmeal for raising microworms. Now, as you can see on the left, I have gone back to using oatmeal, and there's a number of reasons for that, and it's going to come up. Now, they do smell a lot more, but they are so prolific. That is the reason, partially. We'll get to another one here in a minute because I have a couple more slides coming up. And this is cornmeal. It's thriving, but they don't climb up the sides nearly as much. And it has the same problem I was having with the potatoes. It's not very prolific. And I was noticing that the worms were smaller. Now this is oatmeal. As you can see, this is quite huge. This is actually the same magnification as for the paramecia. This is actually good because I like the larger worms because I can feed them to a larger fry for starters, but also I find even adult guppies will pick at these, and it's just a little treat for them. I know I also feed other things as well as live food for that, but it is actually kind of interesting that they will feed a little bit on this as well. So cornmeal and and potatoes. I finally got to the point where I remembered to do a slide showing the size of the worms. This is exact same magnification. So they're a lot smaller. There's a couple of larger ones you'll see go by, but for the most part, they are tiny. I don't really need tiny food. I've already got tons of that. But the concern I'm having, or what I'm thinking is, if they are growing to this less extent, does that mean they're malnourished? And if they're malnourished, does that mean they're not providing as much nutrition to the fish themselves? So that's something I have to really think about. I have to give it a try. Now, the reason why you're getting another one here, this is again with oatmeal. And the reason why I took this is because they weren't climbing up the sides very well on the other one. I took a little bit out of the culture itself, and I thought maybe the worms are just younger and hadn't started climbing up. But this is out of that as well, and as you can see, there aren't any small worms at all anywhere to be found in the oatmeal. But there is one other thing I want to mention here. I did say that it was likely that, or possible that they were malnourished. So what it is, I scraped off, this is just straight off the sides, so there isn't any culture, there's no oatmeal here. And as you can see, they have a slight yellow tinge to them. That means they have most likely a little bit of flavonoid in their tissues, and that's actually quite a good thing to introduce into the diets of the fry. And this is the oatmeal. I mean, they're pretty much just clear. I'm going to do a side-by-side here, and you're going to see that the one on the left is cornmeal, and the one on the right is oatmeal, and you can see there is a bit of yellow there. So I'm thinking my next step now for this, obviously the oatmeal, I mean, they produce much bigger, healthier looking worms, but if I mix a little bit of cornmeal in there as well, it may also end up giving me a little bit of that flavonoid color to it, and that little extra bit of color may supply a little bit of extra nutrition to the fish. I'm going to try that out, and I'll let you guys know how that all works out. This is the Java Moss bog filter that I converted to the leak-proof canister filter, and it's doing quite well. I have obviously done nothing with the middle bit yet. I keep meaning to get to that, but there's always so much on the go. It is keeping the water really nice and crystal clear, but the real reason why I'm showing you this is I tend to feed a lot of scuds to my adult fish, and I was doing that to these guys, trying to stimulate them to get them a little bit fatter. And if you look right at the back above the terracotta pot there, you're going to see one has one stuck in its throat or mouth. I'm not sure exactly. I was hoping it was either going to spit it out or choke it down or something, but I'm going to need to do something about that. I don't like doing this because they're small little fish, and as you can see, they're lovely little fish, but when you catch them in a net, then you have to hold them still and then use a pair of tweezers to pull whatever it is out. You run a lot of risk of not just, crushing the poor little guys, but also when you pull something out like that, you can easily damage their jaw, and they wouldn't be able to, eat after that. And so far, he's been able to eat. So I couldn't really film that because it is a quick and dirty process. I want to make sure I got it done as fast as possible, but I managed to get it out. And there it is. It is hopefully not going to hurt him long term. He seemed to be fine afterwards, but we'll let you know next week. So I'm going to show you these guys. This is my first batch or colony of guppies, trying to breed a little bit more of them. And as you can see, those two females are just really ready to pop, and I need to get the female bed out of here. The hard part, of course, that is, I have lots of tanks, but I don't really have lots of tanks where a female betta is going to be easy to put in. So I have to really give that some serious thought in the near future, because it's not going to be too much longer before before they end up giving birth. These are the OB zebras. They're doing really well. They need to get into a larger aquarium. They're coloring up now, which is nice, but they're definitely going to need some more space. And that is something I have to do relatively soon. Hard to believe when you have 34 aquariums that you just don't have enough space, but it always seems to be the case. These guys are doing really well. Those are the Borlea fry. They're getting big as well. But this is the most important part here, really, and that is these zebras I picked up are actually really coloring up nicely, and I have more than enough males now and females, and they may end up replacing the white clouds in the pond. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to leave them in there a little while longer, but we'll have to see. Obviously, these plants are doing really well, and this one here that I flopped around to the other side is now nice and straight, because it's leaning back again towards the light, which is, it's good to keep them nice and balanced that way. And all of these are doing really well as well. The only thing I find, and that has to do with the Basmati rainbows, I've bred rainbows in the past, and my biggest complaint, I guess you can call it, is they stall out in growth after a while, and they're pretty much at that point now. I hopefully will be able to get them a little bit bigger, and then I'll put them up with in the 7-foot tank, and maybe that'll stimulate them to grow a little bit more. These guys I am going to put out into a client's tank soon. I don't really need goldfish, so I do have one spot for them. And these guys are adjusting nicely. They're eating quite well. They're starting to chase each other around. Sorry for the bit of water spots in the front, but I don't clean these tanks unless there's a film, and I didn't really have time to get around to that this particular time. So this is something interesting. I haven't seen this on my plants before. This is a red Luigia, and it has flowered. I noticed it when I was doing a water change. That's why the water is a little bit lower, and I'm actually kind of cool. I really like that. It is not something that I see very often in flowering in aquatic plants. It does happen, but it's nice to see. It's a lovely little flower. This is another suggestion from Brad, and he suggested I put in Hornwort instead of the Java moss I was using in this box filter. It's been a week now, and so far, Fred, it's doing fine. I haven't seen any real issues with it. It has lost a few needles, but that's not something that's really out of the ordinary. You can just see them now right near the bottom there. Gonna leave it go, obviously, a fair amount longer because it's one of those things that needs definitely it needs time before you can make a decision about that sort of thing. So here's the pond. The giant estate-sized space for 4 little white clouds. That's part of the reason why I was thinking moving the zebras in here instead, but I'm going to leave them in here for another week or two. I want to see if they are going to end up spawning. I'm sure they're probably already doing that. White clouds definitely spawn quite easily. And as you can see, I have put another chunk of Java moss in here. That is because there's just so much space. This means obviously that the egg separator probably won't get used, but that's fine. I just want to give them enough options to actually lay some eggs. I would like to have a lot more of these guys. So I'm going to see what I can get out of this. And like I said, they're nice and healthy and happy and fat. I may end up moving them into a smaller aquarium to get them to breed more of, and then put them back in here when I have a number of them. We'll have to see. I haven't really decided that yet. This is doing really well. Obviously, didn't really expect it not to. It's keeping this tank nice and clear, as you can see. There is one other box filter on this currently, and between the two of them, it's a 7-foot tank, but it's doing really nicely. And I can't leave off without a clip of Ripley, so that's coming up here shortly. And as far as everything else goes, thank you very much for watching. Leave lots of comments. Let me know what you think. I try to get around to them, and I'll see around to any suggestions you have as well. So there's Ripley, doing really well. She's just a lovely little fish. And again, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.